Hello dear students, welcome to session 48. So here we'll look into act 2 of the play and try to understand some important events which takes place in act 2 of the play King Lear. So what happens in act 2 scene 1? So we have plot which shifts towards another important focus, what happens with Gloucester and his son Edgar and with his illegitimate son Edmund. So Edmund, who is an illegitimate son, a bastard son, makes Edgar seem very guilty by convincing him to flee Gloucester Castle as his father arriving. So what has happened that here Edmund, he wants to take the position of his legitimate brother Edgar. Edmund after telling or convincing after convincing Edgar to flee to avoid the wrath or anger of his father by forging a letter. Now Edmund tells Gloucester that Edgar was plotting to murder him. So we see a very cunning nature of Edmund, where he plots against his brother and he wants to gain the trust of his father. And unfortunately, Gloucester, he believes everything or whatever Edmund tell him. So when Cornwall and Regan, they both arrive at Gloucester Castle and they command for taking action against Edgar because they were impressed or they were on the side of Edmund and they ask him to serve them. They ask Gloucester to serve them. So Regan asks Gloucester for advice regarding Lear, what's supposed to be done about her father. So, what is happening outside Gloucester Castle that Kent, who is still disguised as Caius, and Oswald, they both arrive with messages respectively from Lear and Gondrel. So Kent, who is still angry at Oswald for insulting Lear, he picks up a fight with him at that point itself, which makes Cornwall and Regan very much angry. So Oswald he cries for help, bringing Cornwall, Regan, and Gloucester, and Kent replies rudely to their calls for explanation, and Cornwall orders that Kent has to be punished in the stocks. And Gloucester thinks that this humiliating punishment of Lear's messenger will be seen as disrespectful for Lear himself. So this is a very key moment because Gloucester he understands the fact that Kent, who is now discussed as Caius, who has come with a message and is being punished by others, it will be seen as an act of disrespect by Lear himself. But on the other hand, Cornwall and Regan they insist that Kent deserves that punishment and is supposed to be punished and they put him in the stocks. So after everyone leaves, Kent reads a letter that he has received from Cordelia, in which she has promised to find some way to help the situation to her father Lear. So what we see in Act 1, if we look into the character of Edmund, he is a very clever and cunning villain. So what we see in Act 2, Scene 1, Edmund, he displays his great intelligence and cunning, the way he dupes his own father, and where Gloucester trusts his words rather than his legitimate son Edgar. So, as an excellent actor and effortlessly he persuades and convinces Edgar to participate in the mock fight and arranges the timing of Gloucester's entry perfectly so that it leads a situation of confusion and Gloucester starts believing his words. So his determination is to achieve his plans is proven by his willingness to cut himself in order to make his story more believable, where he creates a situation of a mock fight where he hurts himself, willingly and makes his father believe that, Edgar is not a right person and is supposed to be punished. And Edmund also shows that he understands human nature as he masterfully manipulates those around him. He is a person who is able to manipulate people around him. It is not just Gloucester he manipulates in the play. As you read the play, you will also understand he is the one who attracts the two daughters of Lear, both Gonril and Regan. and if we see a kind of jealousy and fight between those two, where they get attracted towards Edmund, which we see in the next part of the play. And Edmund cleverly plays on Gloucester's superstitious nature. He understands certain beliefs of Gloucester, and he uses it, and by claiming that he overheard Edgar warbling of wicked charms, where Gloucester is a person who believes in these superstitious, activities. And when Edmund tells that Edgar is doing some enchanting activities against him, Gloucester truly believes the words of Edmund and banishes Edgar. So what we understand here, that Gloucester, he becomes a gullible father. You see a kind of contrast in this character when compared to the first act. Gloucester now becomes very gullible, very confusing. You can see Gloucester, in terms with Lear. We see similarities between the actions taken by these two, because they trusted, the most untrustworthy people, and they dejected the trustworthy people. Whereas Gloucester, he believed the words of Edmund, and he banished his most loving and trustworthy son, Edgar. On the other hand, Lear does the same thing. He believed Regan and Goneril, but he disowned the most loving daughter, Cordelia. Okay, so we see both Gloucester and Lear are easy prey for the manipulative children. And Regan, she is a person who is self-serving, self-centered, and she is also as manipulative as Edmund. And Regan, like her sister Gondrel, shows a very strong mind. It shows that she is a very strong-minded female, and who has no difficulty expressing her opinions. Here, expressing opinions refers to not just asserting what they believe in. Instead, they believe that whatever they do is the right thing. So, that is the reason why she takes the side of Edmund, and she also immediately calls for Edgar to be harshly punished. So we have two important, events in this act. A key moment where Kent's revelation in disguise that Cordelia may be on her way along with the French army to help Lear shows the first glimmer of light or hope for the king in the play. And the question now is whether she will intervene in time so that she can save her father from a terrible fate which is yet to be arrived. So I have given multiple choice questions at the end. Go through them and answer them. Thank you.